So, Mr. Robinson, Stephen told me you used to work for the Nobel, right?
No, so that's my manager, Chris Dubois. He used to work for Nobel.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's your manager. Okay.
I was an implant, but I was with ISN.
Okay.
And all window sheets must be open at this time. If you are using a laptop computer or similar sized electronic device, please discontinue its use and ensure that it's properly.
So later I'm going to send the YouTube link to you. Okay? We can live stream.
Okay.
Jump up on the flight deck. We'd like to welcome aboard flight 2900 going to.
Hello. Hey, Stephen.
Hey, yeah. Hey, I'm here.
Okay. That's good.
Have you introduced yourself to Zachary?
Yeah, I already talked to the Mr. Robbins.
Okay.
So Stephen, my flight are going to take off. Okay.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay. I'll give you an introduction. No problem.
Okay, I make you the host. Okay. And,
okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So where you fly to? Where you fly to, Dr. Zhang?
I'm from the Auckland. Back
Oh, you're
home.
flying. You're back home. Okay. So Lena is also the host. If I
co-host.
Co-host, okay. Yeah, she can probably help me if I'm away. Yeah, if I'm away, she can help me.
Yeah, we usually we get to the 5:30. We wait a little bit. Let's
okay. Yeah, like always, people just finish work.
Yeah. This afternoon, Dr. Liao talking about the detailed denture printing. So today we have two webinars. I think that's good. So this is the evening.
So then it's armed doors for departure crossing and copy.
Hey, Chris.
A very small
Hello.
I can hear you.
You can hear?
Yes.
Hey, Chris.
How's it
Can
going,
you hear
Dr.
me,
Zhang?
please?
Good to see you.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So we wait a little bit before most people will join us after 5:30 our time, Pacific time.
Right.
So both
they
Chris
just-
and Zach come from Spring Ray. You work for Spring Ray. Hi, I'm Lina.
Pleasure.
Alina, you worked for Spring Ray before?
No, I'm asking if Zach and Chris both working for Spring Ray.
Yes, Chris is my manager.
Federal regulations require compliance with this information as well as with all crew members.
Okay.
I didn't hear that. Sorry.
She was just asking if we work for a Sprint, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So people start joining. Let's wait for a couple of more minutes. Chris, and this group of digital dentists have about 500 members in the group. And recently they just formed a non-profitable organization called NDPO. Yeah, so Dr. Zhang is the head of this organization. So they've been working very closely during this pandemic to bring all the technologies, especially digital technologies, give a lot of continuing education to those members. So and then they were coming to, some of them were coming to Houston to visit us. So
Okay.
yeah, it will be a great opportunity to know each other more.
Mhm.
Dr. Zhang, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. My flight almost take off.
Almost take off. I just
But we have the Wi-Fi. Okay, later I will join.
okay.
After take off, I can join the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I just want you to know Chris.
Yes.
He's a good friend of mine, and he used to work in Noble Biocare.
Yeah. Hi, Chris.
Hi, nice to meet you, Dr. Zhang.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
we did.
so
I worked a lot with Dr. Zhui, helping out with a lot of the programs that he's done over the years. So
Yeah.
glad and pleasure to be here. Thank you.
thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
so I think shall we get started?
Yeah, I think it's time to.
Okay.
We'll be dimming those cabin lights. Individual reading lights are located above you, as well as your phone.
Okay, so Dr. Zhang assigned me assignment for tonight's introduction, like always. So just before I start, I want to share a little experience that I have. I have almost all the toys in dentistry, like you name it, CEREC, digital stuff, until, I always looking for some printer machines, until one day my front desk said, "Oh, there are gentlemen in the door, Chris." I said, "Oh, Chris, he's a implant guy." So, but so what I'm saying is, when technology knock on your door these days, so give people a chance. This is a digital age, so especially we're not used to those new technology. We need to embrace them. But Chris and I, we've been friends for a long time, and he always very supportive to me with my own education as well as the continued education I'm giving. And he used to be a very high position people in Noble Biocare, and he knows so much about the implant dentistry as well as all the big name in implant field. So, and tonight, so the speaker will be Mr. Zachary Robinson. I will give a little introduction. Mr. Robinson is a digital sales specialist at Spring Ray. He comes from an implant background where he helped train dentists with implant surgery in the greater Houston area. Today, he will speak on the benefits of adding 3D printer and how it will provide more efficient workflow solution. So without further ado, I will hand the time to him. Let's enjoy the lecture tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shui. So yeah, as Dr. Shui said, I'm here to talk to you about the most exciting new technology in the dental field, and that is 3D printing. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So we're just going to start off just talking about SprintRay real quick. Some of you may have heard of SprintRay, some of you, might be new, but SprintRay, we were actually founded by a couple of USC PhD researchers. They were studying additive manufacturing, and upon doing so, they found there was a glaring hole in one market in particular, and that was dentistry. So that's where SprintRay really lives exclusively. We only serve the dental market. Everything we do goes back into investing into better products, better workflows for the average dental office. Right? We're run by dentists and engineers, not MBAs and accountants. Right? We have that total end-to-end workflow. And again, we are the only one who solely focus on the dental market. Just touching on a little bit behind 3D printing, right? So the ADA did a poll last year with their dentists. They found 49% of doctors said they plan to spend more on technology in the next 2 years. Those top two technologies, number one being intraoral scanning, and number two being 3D printing. You can't have a 3D printer without an intraoral scanner, but once you have the two, they are inseparable. And about half of the dentists said 3D printing would improve their workflow. But if you ask me, I think the other half don't actually understand the full potential 3D printing can provide. So I hope to talk to you a little bit about that today. So touching on just a little timeline on the digital transformation and how 3D printing got its start. So we're gonna rewind the clock a little bit back to pre-1985, the Stone Age, as I like to call it. So here's really kind of where you did your traditional impression technique, and then you either poured the stone model or the lab poured the stone model. Right, but either way, once you send that to the lab, it still took about 2 weeks to get back to you. Overall, not very efficient, not very fast. Then in 1985, when the first intraoral scanner hit the market, right, you were able to shrink that capture down to about 5 minutes, but still sending it to the lab and getting it back still took about 2 weeks at least. Then when SprintRay launched their first 3D printer, 2017, it was actually the Moonray. Now total time to teeth shrunk down to just over 5 days, right? The largest time here is when you send it to the lab, however long it takes them to design and get back to you. But once it got back to you, you could print same day and deliver to your patient. Then in 2020, we actually had our whole ecosystem, our frictionless digital ecosystem, and you could go from capture to delivery in just over 26 hours. So next day dentistry, right? Using our cloud design, you get that design back within 24 hours, and then you're rocking and rolling, printing and post-processing. But SprintRay, we are the fastest 3D printing workflow for a reason, and 26 hours just wasn't cutting it. So we know that we can be faster than that. And in April of this year, we actually launched what is the AI Design Night Guard. So you can have a patient walk in for a hygiene appointment. You can scan them. You can send that design to us. You'll get that design back in, realistically, it's 2 minutes. Some docs even say they got it in 30 seconds. And then from there, you can print, post-process, and deliver to your patient. The whole process takes under an hour. And you might be asking yourself, why does he have Usain Bolt on his slideshow? Well, for one simple reason, he is our global brand ambassador. Right, our guys at HQ, they thought, hey, let's do something ambitious. Let's pair the fastest 3D printing workflow with the fastest man on earth. So we actually flew him out from Jamaica to LA and showed him what we had to offer, and he absolutely loved it. He knows that one day he's not going to be the fastest man in the world, so he wanted to leave a legacy behind, and we're honored that he chose SprintRay. We actually partnered with him. We formed Bolt Laboratories as one of his foundations, and we now help provide those less privileged in Jamaica with providing them with dental care. So great athlete, even better person. But the theme of today's presentation is just, frictionless digital workflow. Everything post-scan we do provide. So we have that end-to-end workflow, right? We integrate seamlessly into your already existing workflow to minimize all the headaches and overall just make your office a lot more efficient. So we do that with our hardware mainly, right? So touching on the first piece of hardware that you need is the printer. So our Pro S series printer is our newest, greatest printer, and some improvements that it has over the old, just Pro series. So it has a platform that heats up in addition to a resin tank that heats up. So with this, you're able to get prints started a lot quicker, and that leads to less failures because one of the biggest things you need is resin that is at a certain temperature. So when both elements heat up, you're able to have less print failures, which overall is just better in general. In addition to that, it does have presence sensing, so it can let you know if something's on the build platform before you hit start. Basically, it's just more mistake proof. And then in addition to that, you can actually assign certain materials to each resin tank. So you always know if you go to print night guard material and you have die and model material in there, your printer will let you know to make that change so you don't make that mistake. So we do have two different models of printers. We have a Pro 55 and a Pro 95. So just starting with the 55. So the 55, the key difference here is it prints at a 55 micron resolution. What this means is this is your resto ready printer, right? This can print those crowns, those bridges, those hybrid dentures. This is your every indication printer, right? Super easy to use. All you need to do is select whatever resin you're printing and basically hit print. You don't have to mess with any parameters. You don't have to change anything. Everything's already pre-programmed for you. And then our 95, so that where you actually lose the ability to print those crowns and bridges because you're now printing at a 95 micron resolution, you actually gain in capacity. So with the 95, you can actually print up to 9 models horizontally and up to 20 vertically, right? So it's more for production. It's still just as versatile. The only things you can't print are those restorations, but just as easy to use as the 55. Everything's pre-programmed in for you. And how we get this efficient is with the use of what is DLP technology. So this is really the heart of the printer. We utilize digital light projection. The original way of 3D printing is called stereolithography. And with stereolithography, every model or appliance that you add to the print, it adds additional time. Whereas with digital light projection, it doesn't matter how many models or appliances you add on that print platform, it will cure every layer of every appliance at the same time. So you're able to get a lot more output and a lot more production out of the printer. And then since it's additive manufacturing, right, once it comes out of that resin, it'll still be dripping wet with that resin and only be about 80% cured. So at this point, you need to move it to an alcohol bath. and our Pro Wash Dry is that. So this has a 2-part wash, and the 2-part, this really minimizes tinting. So the old school way of, after you print, you would actually move it to a Tupperware container full of alcohol, and you would shake it up, and you would leave it there for a certain amount of time and come back to it. But if you leave it too long, right, offices, y'all get super busy. So when you come back to it after a long period of time, that appliance, that model is now ruined, and you have to actually reprint it, and it's just a big hassle. So you actually don't have to submerge anything in alcohol with ours. And with the 2-part, we have a initial rinse, which is your dirty rinse, and then a clean rinse at the end. So if you're printing like denture teeth or something like that, you don't have to worry about using your old model resin alcohol that you wash the models in to wash the denture teeth, and then staining gray or brown or whatever color that model resin was. And in addition to the 2-part wash, we do have a dry feature as well. And the whole process only takes about 10 minutes. But what you'll do is you'll take that print platform off, and you'll stick it right in that wash dry unit and just hit start, right? Super streamlined, no mess. And then in addition to all that, there are also hydrometers inside to tell you when that isopropyl alcohol is so saturated with that resin that it no longer cleans your models properly. So when the hydrometer pops up, to drain it and just add new alcohol. And lastly is our Procure 2 unit. So our Procure 2 unit, it has some great pieces of technology. So we call this, it's a light and motion drive. And basically with that and our unmatched thermodynamics, right, this provides that all-encompassing UV light to those models, those appliances, while providing that instant heat. And what this leads to is cure times that do not take longer than 5 minutes for anything. And you can fit about 15 arches, right? Huge capacity. You don't need nitrogen. You don't really need anything special with any of these units. All you need is power. That's it. No drain lines, no fumigation, just an outlet. And putting that into perspective, this is what that whole process looks like. So we're going to start with the printing process. So here you'll shake up that resin. You'll pour it into that resin tank. Once that file is loaded to the printer, you hit start. And depending on what you're printing, maybe 20 minutes later, 40 minutes later, that appliance is complete. And you can see here how it's still dripping wet with that resin. So from there, we'll actually take that right off the printer, and you can stick that platform directly into that wash dry unit. And again, if you leave that on there for a while, you don't have to worry about it because it's not submerged in that alcohol. Your prints won't get ruined. And it comes out nice and clean. So from there, you'll remove it from the platform, right? These are our cloud supports. So with night guards, makes it super easy to rip off. And then you'll just put that in the cure unit. And in just 3.5 minutes, you'll be ready to just polish that up and deliver to your patient. So we're going to touch on just a few workflows, right? What SprintRay can do for you. All right, we're going to start with the most common workflow in the dental office, and that's making models. And making models is super streamlined. All you need is that STL file. So you really don't have to have the need to pour models anymore with the 3D printer. All you need, you just take that STL file and you print it, right? It only costs you about $2 a model, but super easy to use. And your patients don't have to take up any chair time. That's the biggest factor. So again, all you need, you just take that scan and you'll upload that to our Rayware software. So our Rayware software is a nesting software. And with that nesting software, you will actually be able to base the models. So all you need is that shell of an STL file. And once you send it to our software, you'll be able to base it and print it, right? Nothing special. You don't have to send it to Mesh Mixer, base it, and then send it back to Rayware. All you need is to send it straight to Rayware. And then once you have it, you print, wash, cure, and then you're ready for suck downs, for retainers, for aligners, right? So you can incorporate like retainer warranties with your patients. If they lose one, you just reprint that file you already have on hand. You don't have to have them come back into your office, take up chair time, do a model, right? Do an impression, pour a model. No, you just print the model and do the suck down. And nice thing with these models, they don't actually break after like 1 or 2 suck downs. It's super streamlined and only costs you less than $5 for every model. And then surgical guides. So with the surgical guide, if you end up submitting that design through us, you're only going to pay 70% less than you would through a traditional lab. Turnaround time on that is about 2 days. If you decide to add a temp crown design with that, right, that'll be 3 days. But ultimately, each guide with that design cost, it's only going to be about $125. And kind of same process, right? You just scan, you take that initial data, but now you'll upload it to your SprintRay account through the cloud. And once you get that final design back, you're able to print it right there in your office. So what you would need, you need that upper, the lower, the bite, and that DICOM. And then you'll go to your SprintRay account. You'll add a patient. You'll select the new treatment plan. You'll select the surgical guide, tell us a little about your case, what tooth number, implant size, what implant system are you placing? Do you want it fully guided? Do you just want the pilot guide? You can pick and choose here. And then you'll upload that initial data. And then once you choose whatever resin you're printing on, right, surgical guide 3, whatever resin you prefer, you select all that. So that way, when it's finalized, all you need to do is send it to your printer and you can hit print. All right, so once you get that final design, you'll print it, you'll wash it. And then if your system calls for placing sleeves, this is where you'll place the sleeves. You'll place it before the final cure. That just makes it a lot easier on you. You only have to cure it once. And then you'll remove those supports, polish it up, and then you autoclave it. With our surgical guide 3 resin, so it'll come out kind of yellowish after the cure. Once you autoclave it, it'll actually turn back to clear. So this is basically your final product with a sleeve, right? It doesn't matter what implant system you use. We can help direct you to where to purchase sleeves if need be. We have basically all those systems in our database to design. And our night guard workflow, right? This is the second most popular workflow next to those models. Again, you can get that entire workflow in less than an hour. And it works in essence in a similar way as that surgical guide. So you just take that, now just the initial scan. You don't have to take that CBCT data. You just that intraoral scan, upload it to your SprintRay cloud account, select your design, you get it back in print. So all we need is that upper, that lower, and the bite is optional, just depending on whichever intraoral scanner you have. But now, again, go through that SprintRay account, select the new patient, new treatment plan, and then you'll be prompted. You can either select like just a regular night guard or an AI night guard. If you select the AI night guard, it's only going to give you a flat occlusal guard, right? Nothing special. If the patient needs an anterior ramp or anything else, you're going to have to choose the 1-day turnaround. But with our AI design, you'll get that back in 2 minutes, right? So choose your night guard type. And then once you have all that, you submit that information. You choose the resin you're going to be printing on. So we do have a lot of resins you can choose, right? We have our Night Guard Flex, our Night Guard Firm. And we also have third-party Night Guard material if you want to choose that. But once you print it and wash it, you can get a really nice looking Night Guard out of it after you polish it. So this is actually one of our customers. This was all done by their assistant. Doctor didn't even touch it. Hygienist does a scan, they sell the Night Guards, and then their office really does the rest from there. But you can do any number of workflows, right, that you can do on a 3D printer. So just to highlight another one here real quick is the hybrid denture. So this is one of my favorite ones, but nothing here is going to take you longer than an hour apart from, the multi-unit temps and the dentures. The dentures mainly because you have to print them as the base and then the teeth, and then you'll loop them together. So you do need to do those in 2 prints, but everything else is under an hour. So touching on that hybrid denture workflow real quick. So a traditional lab, they're going to charge you about $2,000 an arch, right? Those have about a 12% fracture rate. When you use our material, our Onyx material, it's a nano ceramic hybrid material, one of the first of its kind. You're only going to pay about $10 in material to print that Onyx, right? Going through a lab, depending on who you go through, it'll be about $300 to get that design. But ultimately, you're only going to be in about $330 for that arch compared to a traditional conversion that costs you $2,000. So you're already saving about $1,700 just with going with the Onyx material. So how this would work, you do that surgery, you do that initial data capture, and then this is just going over capture. But after you get that design, you'll actually print it, you hand wash our Onyx, and then you do the final cure. After that, characterize it, right? Match that patient gingiva, and then you can deliver. Our Onyx resin, right? It sits at about 150 megapascal strength. This is a long-term provisional. So this can be in the patient's mouth, anywhere from 10 to 12 months. But we are actually launching an even tougher one. So our new Onyx Tough resin should sit about, right now, it's testing at about 800 to 1,000 megapascal strength. So even stronger. And the benefit of, 3D printing, so the traditional workflow, it takes about 2 hours to do that conversion, and you need that patient active throughout the entire process, where it can be a big inconvenience on that patient, right? Just keeping their mouth open the whole time, very uncomfortable for them. When you incorporate 3D printing and our Onyx workflow, still 2 hours, but the patient involvement now is only about 20 minutes. So 10 minutes in the data capture and 10 minutes in seating. Everything else is, between that time, getting design from the lab or printing, post-processing. So patient involvement here, a lot less invasive for them. And then just to recap, that lab design service, about $300, about $15 to stain and glaze. And now your fracture rate is down to about 3% instead of that 12%. And here you can actually load it directly into the multi-unit abutments. You don't have to worry about doing a conversion with that. So it just loads right in, and then you can send the patient home. And apologies. So, and then effective next year, January 2023, you'll actually be able to bill out crowns through insurance. So effectively, the crown is only going to cost you $2 to print. We have basically all shades available, A1 to D3. You can go through Bego or Denka, but the process is still kind of the same as you would submit through the SprintRay cloud, right? You do the scan, send it to us, you'll get that design back and you can print. So what we need is just an upper, a lower, a bite, and that prep tooth. You go into your SprintRay account, start a new treatment, upload that information, and you let us know, what material you're printing, layer thickness you want. And then once it's printed, polish, characterize it, you hand cure, and you're done. So ultimately, 3D printing more or less keeps everything in-house for you, right? The only thing you really have to send out to a lab now is that design work. And then touching more just on our resins and our design services here. So our resins, we do have an industry-leading first and third-party resin support system. So right now we have about 49 resins that are validated by us. And this includes our own resins and third-party resins. So I know y'all have kind of run into it when you go to order something and lo and behold, it's on back order. So here you always have those alternative options. If something is on back order, you can always order a different resin that still has the same properties of, whatever treatment you're trying to give to your patient. And then lastly, I already touched on it a little bit, but with our design service. So our design service, you're looking at, paying 70% less than you would through a traditional lab. Ultimately, it's only going to take you 1 to 3 days to get that design back instead of, 1 to 3 weeks with a traditional lab. And with our AI design, it's really going to take you 1 to 3 minutes. So super quick for you. And just to show you some designs that we have to offer for you, here is the complete list so far. All right, so we have those occlusal guards, and this just depends on if you want something more customized or that AI design to get back to you, right? Either 1 business day or that 2 minutes. We can do that digital smile design, that snap-on smile. We can do a bracket removal design, bleaching trays. You can even do models for aligners, right? We only do premolar to premolar though, nothing larger than that. You can do a surgical guide, a temp crown, a surgical guide with a temp crown, or even reference dentures or duplicate dentures. But just to recap, the possibilities, I touched on a retainer warranty program, but it's only going to cost you about $5 in material to print a night guard. So you can implement a night guard warranty program. You can, maybe upcharge your patient in the beginning, have your hygienist sell it. And when they enter into this program, they have that retainer for 10 years. You set the timeline. But with this, if they need a replacement, all they need to do is call your office and you can print one and then charge them, $20 for that replacement. Or if you want to break it up to a monthly subscription service, you can do it that way too. But this saves your office from having to schedule them to take up chair time. This just makes you a lot more efficient to where they can just come back in, pick it up and leave, right? No chair time is ever needed. All you have to do is have that file on hand, make sure that their anatomy doesn't change, and you're a lot more efficient. So overall, that's just kind of a brief overview of what 3D printing can provide for your office. So at this point, we can jump into questions if anybody has any.
Yes, I have a question. Thanks for the presentation. I'm just wondering how big the space, for this equipment.
So you do need 28 inches of clearance, of height clearance to open the printer. 28 inches, yes.
Okay, then for the 3 machines we're talking about, right? We need 3 of them.
Yes. So the total footprint is 54 inches, but you don't have to keep them all in the same spot. What a lot of offices like to do is they keep the printer out front where their patients can see it, just as a talking point. And then you can have your wash, dry, and cure unit, back in the lab.
You mean just like Serac, you kind of put the printer in the waiting room you're talking about in the reception area?
It doesn't specifically have to be there. It can be
Oh.
kind of, yeah, just like when they walk through to go sit in the chair, you know, they walk past it and they're like, hey, what's that? What's that new piece of equipment you have? Well, that's how I make your night guards. Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Is it loud when they're working?
No, it's not loud.
I thought, okay, not loud. So we have to purchase all 3 of them.
Yes, you need the whole ecosystem.
So it doesn't matter what kind of scanner, right, we use.
It does not matter. We are completely open, so you can utilize any scanner. You can utilize any design software you wish. As long as it's in an STL file format, you will be able to print it on our printer.
For a GP office, you mentioned something like we do night guard. We could do, can we do temporary crown?
Yes.
But we have to transfer the file for you guys to design.
Yes, or I know you mentioned Sarah, if you have that in-house, if you already
I
have
don't.
it.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I don't have Sarah. I don't.
There are other design softwares out there where you can generate a crown pretty quick and do it that way as well. So it's just if you want to utilize our design service, you know, we have that for
Oh,
you.
okay.
Yes.
Temporary crowns. What else we can do? Denture? Denture?
Yes. So I'll actually go back.
Flipper? Flipper?
Yes. Well, there's no FDA approved resin for a flipper yet, but it's in the works. But this is, you know, all you can do with the workflows. So denture, that smile design, indirect bonding trays for doing like bracket placement on ortho cases, the multi-unit temps, the dentures. You can do immediate dentures as well, but you'll have to go through a lab for that. And then, you know, those models that you don't need any design work for that. Surgical guides, night guards, crowns, and then those models for aligners.
Polishing, is it easy to polish? Because it looks like you said we need to polish it.
Yes, for like the night guards and kind of the more aesthetic ones, you do need a polish. But you can already use your denture lathe in order to polish for like the night guards and whatnot. So.
Oh, the lathe, okay. How many, you know, how many of this we do, you know, can, because night guard, we pay night guard about $100 for the lab to make it. How
Yes.
many, you know, they used to say how many you do, it can, you know, kind of equivalent, or you make some, you know.
So each bottle of night guard resin can make about 100 night guards.
100.
Yes.
So the resin that, you know, used for different things, you know, so they're different color. For instance, the denture, you have the teeth color and the, you know, the gingiva color, right? The flange, you have different colors. So we
Yes.
have to prepare a lot of different, you know, materials. Is that right? Just like shading within the different shades as well.
So yeah, with the traditional denture, you do need to print the base and the teeth. Now we do offer those different shades. So we do offer different denture base shades and then different denture teeth shades. So you can kind of get a good match, or if you just want to do kind of like a bleach and then characterize that afterwards, you can do that as well.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Hey, Zach, I was in Sorona World last week of 2 weeks ago. They launched a printer as well. So can you do a little comparison with yours for me?
So yes, are you talking about the Prime Print?
Yes.
Yes, very good printer as well. They just do things a little bit different than how we do things. So we've been around, 6-7 years. So we've been able to kind of work out some of those kinks. So with our printer, it's really about half the cost. You're able to print everything in about half the time, and the cost for doing everything printing wise is about half as well, because they utilize nitrogen in their curing, which nitrogen is great to get that cure, but it's not necessary with our printer. And then we don't have any fees associated with our printer. Like once you purchase it, it's yours. You don't have to pay any monthly fees associated with that or anything.
Yeah, there's no software upgrade fees, any of that. And if I can add on that, it's new. It appears to be a lot of moving parts also, Dr. Zhui, especially in the wash cure process. It's transferring it internally and electronically. You actually don't transfer it manually there. And their process also, the other thing that's a huge difference is the amount of time it takes from start to finish, from print to post cure. We're easily twice as fast on the post cure process for sure. So those are some of the more differences. We'll see a little bit more as they come out with things too, right? I mean, they've just launched this thing, but they're also, we'll have to see what they come out with resins. The real issue is whatever printer you decide on is what are the capabilities that printer can do with you, and what are your options with resins. And that's where we have those two areas are the biggest advantages for us, our resin options and obviously the success rate that we've had with them, and then also the amount of time that we can do ours in.
Thank you. And we have a lot of CEREC user here in the group. So how can CEREC work with your machine as far as the scanning part or export to your machine? Is it open system or?
Yeah, ours is completely open. A lot of our doctors are CDoc users, so there is no issue with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions?
So hopefully, those of you that get to come to Houston, can even see it in action in Dr. Zhui's office. You mentioned you had some people coming into Houston, Dr. Zhui. We'd love to be able to, show people what the capabilities are as well.
Yeah, great.
Maybe if you start taking a few videos of some of them.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, the final question is how much to set it up?
Yep.
How much is the investment?
So everything all together, that's the entire ecosystem, all the resins to get you started, right? The initial training and all that, it's less than $20,000. But Chris and I will work on creating like a group buy if there's enough interest, and we can bring that price down for you.
20,000. So they'll give us the machines and how many, the materials as well, right?
Yes, basically everything you need to incorporate a few workflows, right? As soon as you get it, you can start printing.
If I can explain a little bit on that, you have your 3 pieces of equipment, and basically your price on 3 pieces of equipment is about $14,500.
14,000 already. Okay.
$14,500 for 3 pieces of equipment.
Sure.
And then you look at other things, training, the resins, design services, different things. And what we'll do is figure out a package on that that would be beneficial to you. But it's not, each one of you will have different things that you want. One of you might want night guard resin, model resin. One of you might want surgical guide resin, all in X resin. So we try and customize the packages to your practice.
So you said this one, does it print crowns? Like, the Emax, the Coney crown, can we print that in the office at all, or just temporary so far?
Just temporaries at this time.
You said it's coming, or you like the final crowns, the permanent crowns?
I'd like to jump in. Zach did, kind of throw a little teaser out there. Resins are continually being developed. He mentioned the fact that our Onyx resin, that's already our second revelation of the Onyx nano ceramic, and we're looking to develop a third revelation of that soon. And then the same thing with Sprint Ray Crown. It's constantly being developed. We hired a gentleman, Samit, who is one of the 5 top resin developers in the world, about 6 months ago, to help us get even better at developing resins. So your question is, is it the same? No, it's not the same as milling out of a block. You're trying to create resins that also can have the similar flexural strength, as well as having options for colors in them too. So coming up with the right mixes and having the right strengths to be able to do anterior aesthetics, to be able to do posterior strength. So the answer to your question is that we feel pretty confident that we will have things in the near future to be able to do those as well and be competitive.
How about the inlay onlays? This one can be like print out inlays, right? The resin inlays. Have people do that? Have people done that? The inlays, like the class 2, we hate that. I'm just wondering if you could print it instead of.
I would say the answer to that question is yes. People try it. We don't promote it or train it. It's not one of our approved workflows at this point in time. But we have many different researchers across the country that we work with on this and across the world that are always trying different things and testing new resins for us. So the answer to your question is yes, there's some people that are doing that in a test from a test perspective, but it's not something that we're promoting that workflow or selling that workflow at this point in time.
So the resin you're talking about basically for night guard.
Oh no, Zach showed we have over 50 different types of resins. So even with night guards, you have three different options on night guards for resins. For crowns, you have 12 different options for temporary crowns. You have 3 different options for full arch hybrids. I'm going to lose track here. A couple different options for surgical guides, several different options for denture teeth and denture bases. I think Zach, there you go, Zach. Yeah, that one right there shows those are all the different resin options that you have for each one of the indications.
Currently.
Yeah. With more to come.
I don't know if it's a good thing or not. There's so many choices. Sometimes it's not a good thing for us.
Well,
we want it simple.
Yeah. What I would say, and not to get too, I guess, specific, but it's for example, when it comes to denture teeth and denture bases, people want a different shade, a different color, right? So that's why you have so many there. It's not like we have a ton of different options for a single shade. We have one option for each shade. But when it comes to night guards, occlusal guards, we need a couple different options because some people like them softer, some a little bit of flex, some like them firmer, and it depends on your patient too. So you're going to make night guards with a different resin depending on your patient.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Chris, and can you talk a little on the topic of how the workflow benefit the workflow for implants? Because usually this group, they like to hear topics on implants, and you are a big guy coming from that area.
Yeah, Zach touched on it a little bit, and we can just start with surgical guides. And with surgical guides alone, you can scan a patient and produce a night guard if you do your own design in-house, or you have a lab that's willing to do a design with you. They can do a design on a night guard within an hour, and you could actually print your own night guard in your office same day and do guided surgery same day in your office. But you'd have to have a couple things set up in your workflow. Either you're going to do the design in your office, or you're going to have a lab that agrees to do the design and have it back to you within an hour, which they can do. And there's a few different design services companies out there that focus specifically on guided surgery as well. And I'd be happy to, a couple of those that are out there, one in Atlanta, one in San Antonio, that are very good at doing those things. But they charge a little bit more to do that also than it would be to do yours. But that's a huge thing you'd be able to offer somebody is same day guided surgery. With dental implants, the next thing is that being able to do immediate temporaries on your implants. You put a scan body on your implant, scan it, make your model, and then print your temporary. I mean, you take the scan, and you get the design for a temporary on it. And once again, you or the lab does the design. You can do it right there in about 30 minutes in chairside, or you could send it to your lab and have them get it back to you in an hour, and you could print a temporary in less than 45 minutes. So you could be immediately temporized printing on implants same day as well. So those are some huge advantages of having printing in your office from an implant standpoint.
And it all comes down to the cost. So do you have a rough estimation on the all-on 4 guide, all-on X guide? How much if we do it on our own?
Yeah, so I know Zach put some stuff up there either way, but from a design perspective, okay, if you're not going to do same day, it'll be less expensive. You're looking at a cost of to have a guide done. But forget whether it's 1 implant or 6 implants. To have a guide done and designed by an outside source, it's going to cost you in the neighborhood of at the lowest $200. It could be as much as $450 to $500 that you're going to pay for the design and the guide. If you do it in your design and the guide, if you do it in your office and you go with us, then you would pay $100 for the design, and then your print would be less than $5 to print the guide. And you're looking at cost you $105, and you can have a guide ready in 48 hours and do the surgery. If you do it in your office, do the design, you have someone, either yourself or more than likely someone on your team that does the design. Obviously, it's just whatever the cost is of the design software that you're using, that you invest in, but there's no internal cost for that. And then you print it out the same thing at the cost of doing a surgical guide, which is less than $5. So the big savings is number one in the cost of the guide, but number two in the design. And if you send it out to any one of these design services companies, they'll charge you an additional fee to get it back to you in less time. So when the number I use $200 to $500, that's getting it back to you in like 6 or 7 days. If you want it back, same day, they're going to charge you an extra $200 on that.
Great. It gives me a lot of incentive. If I can, right now I can do my own designing and the mail for my all-on 4 Broxer. I think I can handle that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any more questions from the audiences? Usually they are very active in Q&A session, but I think it's something relative new to them. So,
well, it's a lot, and there's a lot you can do. The questions, I think it was from Lisa when I was looking at that. I mean, you're asking about a lot of different things to do in your office. My recommendation, as you look to get into 3D printing, there is certainly at least one thing that would be extremely beneficial in your office to start doing immediately, and that is usually either doing just models and or occlusal guards. Those 2 things alone will have a huge ROI within your practice. And if to get it and be successful, my observation is that pick the 1 or 2 things that are you're going to do the most and just start doing it. And then as you want to add a workflow, learn that workflow and add it. And that typically is the easiest way to be successful early on with printing.
yeah, I agree. So the night guard alone, we pay about $100. So you do like 100 of them will make your investment or return back.
Yeah, so, exactly. If you did 100 of those, it would pay for your investment really fast, just night guards alone.
Not to mention all the dentures,
Yeah.
economic dentures and all that. But yeah,
There's also huge patient benefits. Once you have that STL file of a patient, Zach was talking about, got off into some warranty things, and I don't want to go in depth on that, but just think of the patient benefit from the standpoint, you have a patient that you did a denture for, and you have all the STL files, or you have a patient that did an occlusal guard, you have the STL file, and their dog eats it, the kids, flush it down the toilet, whatever happens to it, they call you, hey, my appliance is gone. You can tell them, hey, we'll have that remade for you. You can come pick it up this afternoon. You can have it done in 3-4 hours as long as you have the resins there. And that's a huge benefit for patients. No chair time, anything. You're just going to reprint it, polish it, and it'll be ready for them to pick up in a couple hours. That's a huge benefit for patients.
yes, absolutely, Chris. So I think maybe we should talk to Dr. Zhang and get a group discount for this group. And Lena is here, right? Maybe you can get a survey on people who is interested. Maybe we can talk to Chris, see if we can get a good discount. And so any more questions? It's Friday evening.
By the way, let me ask her, does this machine can print like a clear aligner, like an Invisalign, something like that?
No, there's no resin materials right now that are approved for clear aligners. The clear aligner is basically done by printing a model and doing a suck down over it. And then you can do smile design, and you can design a STL file for the future state of teeth. So you could actually print out 10 different models as you do the movement of the teeth, and then do a suck down for each one. Does that make sense? So you would have like a 10 aligner setup for a patient.
All right, thanks.
But that's done through Smile Design. Yeah, hopefully one day there might be a resin that we can print aligners with. I'm not sure where we are on that one.
All right, thanks.
So if there's no more questions, let's just say we stop the meeting here tonight. And thank everybody for joining in. And then it's a weekend and a holiday weekend, so everybody enjoy. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Zach.
Thank you for having us. We're really thankful that you had us, Dr. Zhang.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night. Y'all have a safe weekend.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.